Okay then, so welcome to the tutorial, which is going to be texturing a low poly game asset to go into Unity 5. So let's look. I'll explain what these are in a minute, but this is the asset. So it's this suitcase model, more or less. So it's very low poly as it goes. It's just under 300 polygons, so it comes about 550 tries roughly. So it's very low poly. Everything's got a unique UV map on here. So like you could have these as overlaps, like all these bits, but to be honest, there's so much room on the UV here that you might as well have them as uniques, because you need to make the most of this UV space. So yeah, so this is the asset, and it's not much at the moment, which obviously you'd expect going into a game engine. So talk about what it's going to look like once we're done. So this tutorial basically presumes that you've made your asset, and you've unwrapped it, and you've made your high poly model of it, which in this case is this. So obviously this is pretty much the same model, but obviously these bits have been added. This is all pretty basic ZBrush stuff. Is just general sculpting. So this took about an hour, probably less. It's not that complicated. High poly, it's just very high poly. It's about 5 million, but obviously go as mental as you want in terms of detail. But yeah, so that's our high poly. There's a lot of detail on here, which, like this seam here, these corner bits, these sort of belts here, this stitching, which isn't actually on the low poly, so a lot of it's going to be normal mapped on, which obviously is very important for a game asset, because we want to be doing as much as we can in the normal map. So see this tutorial, I'm gonna show you what it's. I've already run this tutorial once. So it came out looking like this. So this is it in Marmoset Toolbag, and it's got these neat little stamps on it as well. So it's the same asset that you just saw in Maya, but obviously I've run it through Quixel, and obviously I've rendered these maps, and it doesn't look too bad. I think that's about, I think it's a 512 texture, so it doesn't look bad at all. I think so. It's come from that, and it's gone into this. So this took about maybe an hour of texturing, maybe probably less, to be honest. It's very easy to do, and let's do it. So basically this tutorial presumes that you have all of that you have your high poly done, have your low poly done, and you've rendered out your maps. So I'll just quickly run through all the maps which you'll need. Obviously you can use Nduo here, which we might talk about a bit, to render some of these maps. So these are all the maps in question, which you don't need all of these, but I'd recommend getting as many as you can. So you do need this one, which is your ID map, which is basically generated from your high poly, which is just different colours for different sort of elements of the model. So in this case, the red is going to be leather, the blue is going to be slightly darker leather, the green here is going to be sort of brass. Obviously you can see this being reflected on here. So this is the red bit, this is the green bit, and this is the sort of bluey black, this bit basically. Obviously these are sort of the metal components that make up the front handle. This is the actual handle here. But everything's just a base colour, just no detail. So that's all you need. So you do need this if you're going to be using DDO. So this is, obviously you'll need a normal map here. This one also has a cavity map from Nduo on the top as a overlay layer to sort of bring out a few of those details. And then this is rendered from Xlabel. This is a world space map, or it's an object space map. Same, different theme. So I'll show you how to render this out on Xlabel. It's pretty much the same as rendering a normal map, except you untick a box. This is a gradient map now. You definitely don't need one of these, but it's very good to have. This is obviously the AO, which was actually rendered in Nduo from the normal map, which we'll talk about in a bit. So if you want to render your world space map, go here and uncheck this, and that will render a world space map. Obviously the purple one is a tangent space map. So this is tangent space, this is world space. You only really need this one, but I'd recommend getting this one too. See, this is an important one to talk about. So what this is this is sort of the direction of the model, which tells Enduro how to apply dirt and stuff to it. So basically what it is in each color channel there's a different gradient going in a different direction on the model. Saw a bit of this when I clicked it to Maya here, is that basically this is what it looks like on the actual model. So white here and then black in this direction. So I'll talk a little bit about this. So basically you need to download a script from the internet. It's called where's my script window gone? So this is what it's called here. But where is it? Yeah, so you can download it from here. I know you can. There it is. So Kudi create ramps map. So you download this script. I'll put a download link in the description of this video, and then you'll load it up from here, from this little button up here. Copy paste this command. So you don't need this anymore. Put it in your mail commands down here, and obviously you'll press enter. I think I put it in wrong, but anyway, in it goes, and it will give you this, and you'll want basically one for each. So this one will go in the red channel, green channel, blue channel, I believe. There's a link, there's sort of an actual written documentation on the D-Duo wiki, which I will also link. Basically you'll press it and it will create this ramp map, and you don't really need to tweak it at all in here. And then you put the command in again, and it will save it to this place. So it's very important that you then go and get it, because once you run the script again, you're going to need to run it 2 more times, it will overwrite that file. So make sure you go get it and save it somewhere else. But once you have it and you've compiled it, you should end up with a map like this, which is obviously very rainbow coloured and a bit trippy. But regardless, let's now talk about... Okay, we'll really quickly run over how to generate an AO map from your normal map using Enduro. So you'll press Enduro here from the Quixel suite, and just on this little drop down menu, and you go map converter. Make sure you've got normal selected, AO, obviously this is the default, and active document, and it will jump around for a bit, and you'll end up with this AO map, and obviously you can tweak a lot of this here. So I don't want like maybe these big shadows. So yeah, like that'd be quite a good AO map that we've got there. So anyway, you should have all these maps. Well, you only need your ID, your normal, and your AO, but I'd recommend the others because they're very handy. So anyway, so you open Enduro. This is where the actual tutorial starts. So we get our low poly model, and we get our ID map. Ooh, there it is. And we get our normal map, and we get our AO map, and we get our world space or object space, get our gradient map, and I'm going to let it generate the curvature map. Yeah, because it will generate one from your normal map anyway, so I'll just let it do that. Obviously, as we're sending to Unity, we're basically using the Unity 5 metalness, which is my favourite rendering path. You can use standard Unity 5, which gives you a specular map, although the metalness is ever so slightly easier to use, so I'm going to use that. So create base. Okay, so you should have been waiting around for a bit there, and you'll end up with what looks like this. So you'll have sort of a grey thing here with sort of a lot of blank space. So press this 3DO button here. So this will bring up the 3D viewer, which is obviously really handy when we're doing this texturing. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Over here maybe. So yeah, so that looks okay, I guess. So I'll press space to bring up the UI, which will think about it for a minute. So you can change the lighting preset if you want. Obviously it's not that important, but find one you like. If you want, you can make it spin. Completely up to you. Obviously I'm going to keep it like this. Maybe stop it from spinning once I find sort of an angle I like. I quite like that. I'm going to turn on SSAO because I'm going to have SSAO in Unity, so I want this to be as close a representation of what it's going to look like in Unity as possible. So obviously this is pretty much it, so all it's really shown is our normal map, which you can see here as an RAO map. Obviously, like, we haven't got any color map or a gloss map or a metal map yet, so let's do that. So hide this here. So hold down C and you'll get basically your ID map, like sort of displayed on the model here. So what you can do is hold down C, hold down Shift, and click on the color you want to sort of add a texture to. So in this case I'm clicking on the lever, and you'll have a brief pause, and it will come up with the material browser here. So obviously levers at the top, which is handy for us. So you have to decide which kind of lever you want. So I'm probably going to have this one, this dirty worn lever. So press create. Right, so now it's created this lever material, which actually looks quite good on it. So it's still overlaid on normal map, but it's added its own sort of surface detail, which is sort of dependent on the curvature based on the normal map. If I actually go have a look at the normal map here, you'll see it's kind of, it's difficult to see, but it's added some sort of like very fine noise on top. So maybe this is too brown, this lever, maybe it's too dark, maybe we want to change the colour. So we can open this little folder it's got here for the dirty worn lever. We can scroll down to the lever base here and click on this colour box here, which is the reflectors, which is basically the surface colour. So click, we get this little colour picker up and we sort of change it to the colour we want. So maybe I want it more brown, it will update on here. So yeah, so you can mess around with that pretty much to your heart's content, sort of getting exactly the right colour you want. So I'm thinking maybe that. Yeah, that's obviously maybe we want it to be smoother or shinier. Like maybe we can turn it up here. You'll notice it will just get a bit shinier, but obviously not much because it's non-metallic. So you have to turn it up quite a bit for it to notice it. So yeah, so we'll just keep adding these materials that we want. So this is more or less our suitcase. Like you could export that and you'd be quite happy to see that in the game engine. But we're sort of going to add a bunch to it because we've got all these maps, like the gradient map, and we really want to use them. So first I'm going to add sort of a general layer of dirt. So I'm going to add a material, and it will give us this sort of general material selection. So I'm going to add a beach material, which sounds like a weird one to add, but roll with me here. So we'll add this. Basically, we'll make our suitcase out of beach, sort of sand. So I'm going to turn down the scale of the texture so we had sort of more detail on it, more or less. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, so we've got some smaller dots. So then I'm going to click on this sort of white square here, which says mask. So click on that, and you'll have something come up in a minute. This is the Dynamask editor. So you might not have these bits on the side. Just toggle advanced options on here next to the more. So make this a bit bigger. And you'll see our 3D view has changed. I'm going to go down here and maybe we put the dirt preset here. So this is going to create a general layer of dirt. See, it's creating it on the top. So this is where it's sort of using the gradient. No, it's not even using the gradient map. It's sort of, so that's all right. We've got these post-process options down here where we sort of messing around with it a bit. So maybe we want a bit more over it. Change the contrast maybe. Maybe we want it to be a bit more brighter. You know what, we'll go with that. So press done. And what it will do is more or less sort of add this on top of our current sort of texture. So that's okay. Maybe we want another one. Obviously you can change the colour of it if you go on the albedo. So maybe I don't want it yellow, maybe I want it sort of more black. So yeah, so a bit like that. So now it sort of looks a bit worn. So you can add as many of these as you want, sort of add as much detail as you want, and in as many ways as you want. But we're maybe going to mess around. I don't want this to be as worn as the last one I made, so what we're going to do is we're going to add some. We're going to take advantage of the gradient map we have. So having the gradient map lets us add sort of directional weathering. So in this example, I want there to be some mud on the bottom of the suitcase, maybe. So there's this one here called mud splat. So basically what it does is it can figure out where the bottom is. It can apply sort of mud to it. So I'm going to create that. And it'll take a minute. Yeah, there you go. So basically what it's done is it's figured out where the bottom of the suitcase is. It's applied this sort of mud to it. So it looks like the suitcase has been dragged from it, which is fine. It's probably a bit too much for our needs. So we can edit the mask that they've got here. So basically all it's done is create a dynamic mask based on the gradient here. So we can maybe turn down the brightness. I don't want it to be as strong on the bottom here. I want there to be a little sort of variation. Let's tie it. More contrasty. Mess around the gradient. So, and if you want to sort of edit different mask types, you can do that here. You can maybe do that. Maybe a bit more there. Sort of offset it. Set it a bit down here. A bit more like that. Balance. So you mess around with all these, sort of figure out what they do. I quite like that, but again, it's probably still too strong at the bottom. What's this doing? Okay. Maybe we can mess around in here. And contrast up. Brightness down. Get rid of that contrast in there. Brightness a bit more up. Tiny bit more. Okay, possibly that, yeah. Okay, so it's just got this nice sort of layer of mud on the bottom, where it looks like maybe it's sort of been left in a muddy road or something. So I'm going to turn the opacity down just a little bit on this group, just so it's still not as strong. So again, we keep adding this sort of dirt and weathering as much as we want. So maybe I'm going to add one more sort of general dust over it, which will hopefully so basically it's going to be this beach one again, but so it's going to be a bit more general, sort of a bit more noisy, but probably not as intense. Yeah, so we're going mask here. So you can bring in any of the maps which you loaded in D2O. So if you want to sort of restrict this to the bottom, you can use your gradient map to do that. That's why I recommend you do make a gradient map, because they are really good. So maybe we've got this sand one, maybe get some cavities. Yeah, let's get it in between these leather cracks, which I think would look quite good. Sort of tighten it up a bit. There we go. What? Okay, so apparently our 3D view has just crashed. So hopefully if we load it up again, it'll be fine. Which occasionally happens. Yeah, so let me just reset all the settings for this. So just turn the SSAO back on. Not that strong. Find an environment. We're in this environment, I think. Yeah, so you see it's added quite nice it's probably too strong in places. Spin it around to an area that we like. Yeah, that looks quite good. Yeah, so it's too strong, I reckon. It's a bit more black. That black. Maybe that. Okay, yeah, and turn the opacity down just a bit. Okay, that looks quite good, yeah. I'm happy with that. So this is more or less the finished model from DDO, like, if we get a closer look at it here. This is about a 512 resolution and it doesn't look too bad. So we can spin the mesh around. Yeah, that looks quite good. Like, we've got sort of a lot of general dirt and detail across it, and obviously it's quite a low resolution model, so we're doing a lot with what we have. Yeah, that looks quite cool. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add sort of those stamps that we saw and then put it in Unity. Right, so more or less we're done with this suitcase. So now we've added very general sort of model details, but what we now want to add is some more sort of unique details to help it stand out. So pretty much done in DDO, more or less. So open the exporter. Yeah, there it is. And then I'm going to set a path, so I'm going to save it in suitcase tutorial texture. Okay then. I'm having it 8-bit so it saves out correctly. I want it underscore map, but I want them targets. So obviously you can have different. This is how it formats the name. So it'll be underscore normal map or underscore albedo. Carrying all caps, or actually I might have it. Yeah, so, and we want Unity 5 metalness. So when we send it to Unity, it will pretty much be a very easy import. So that's that done, actually. So that was very quick. So save project. So if we just real quick, it's actually a 1024 image, so we can shrink that down to 512 once we get all the details on there. So this is kind of our working resolution. So save the project before we close it, and we're more or less done for now. Now we're just going to put those on those stickers. So we're going to use Mudbox to do this. This is quite an easy thing to do in Mudbox. So we go to the suitcase where we keep it, and actually if we go to the tutorial texture, nothing's in there. Okay, amazing. Okay, I presume it's saved out. Anyway, so we'll load the model in there. Excellent stuff. We go to layers up here, set paint, import a layer, and not in here. Tutorial texture, nothing's in there. Okay, so for whatever reason the targets did save, but just re-exported them and they were fine. So what we do is go to paint over here and we're going to import a layer, and it's in the wrong place again. So I just want the albedo as diffuse, and import it again, import the normal, and make that obviously a normal map. So it just gives us our suitcase, but in Mudbox. So now I have these stencils which I've sort of got off the internet, but I've cut them into PNGs, so I'll show you what they are. So basically they're sort of suitcase stamps and they're sort of PNGs, and we can just go ahead and they're from here. They're from a I'll see if I can link the actual image in the description, but this is where I got them from. And I've cut them all into individual PNGs, which you can then go into stencil, add a stencil, and go into where you were keeping them, which is here. Select them all, deselect that one. And now they're all in here as PNGs, which is great. So I'm going to go to projection here, and I'm going to create a new diffuse layer. I'm going to call this stamps. Make sure it's 1K, target obviously, and I want it in the diffuse channel. So now I can just start drawing these stamps on. So this should actually be quite fun. So I want this one here. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Yeah, so put that one there. So that's more or less our stickers done. So I'm going to click on this layer which I created and export selected and export it to projectors and make sure it's PNG and call it stickers. Spell stickers right. Okay, so save that and back into Photoshop. Close this again. To reopen DDO to re-export all the maps. So make sure your maps export before you move on. You probably don't need DDO anymore. It's done. It's done. So these are all our Unity maps. So we're going to open these, and also I'll talk about the how Unity sets up its maps, so we know what's going. So this is the sticker there basically. In all the positions that we put them on, just on the UVs. I do want to clean up what happened over here. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it appears that we ended up with some sort of artifacts here. I'll just get rid of those. A bit too complicated. There we go. So we'll start with the diffuse, or the albedo even. Just edit, paste in place. There, I was like, you can do any sort of color correction or sort of messing up with the stickers that you want on here, but I'm not going to do that sort of in the interest of time, but you should. So save that, replace my existing target 24-bit because we haven't got anything in the alpha channel, so we don't need the extra 8-bit. Okay, so save in here. The stickers also need to be on the AO, but they essentially need to neutralize the sort of AO color that they're on. So we'll sort of put it as more or less white. Sort of not perfect white, but close enough. There we go. I should do that. Obviously the stickers are flat, so they're not going to have any AO detail. So that's that. And metallic. So probably just to be safe, we'll create these and give them a color overlay and make it black, just so there's no metallic bits of stickers. And then we're going to the alpha channel here, so this is one of the only maps which we're using that has, this is our gloss basically. So this is where Unity reads the gloss from, the alpha channel of the metal, or indeed if you're using specular, the alpha channel of the spec. So bear that in mind. This is what DDO does if you select the Unity preset, is it sort of packs all these maps for you. So these can have a really general kind of rough colour, because they're obviously made of sort of paper. So I'm going to paint them in sort of papery colour. We can mess with that a bit, but I think that's probably all we're really going to do. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, excellent. So we'll save that, and this needs to be a 32-bit obviously, so we keep that alpha channel. So 32-bit, normal, we need to get rid of the normal detail on top of the stickers, otherwise they're not going to make much sense. So we're just going to enter a neutral normal value, which is 125, 125, and 255, which is just basically a flat normal colour. So save that, and that only needs to be 24-bit, and that's it. That's all the real texture work that we need to do. So let's open it up in Unity. Okay, so we're more or less done in the actual model maker. So we're just going to put it in Unity now and just get it to look nice. So this is just a real quick Unity scene, just standard Unity scene, which I've created. I'm going to create a procedural sky for it. So this is Unity 5, by the way. So this is the free version, so you should be able to do everything that I'm doing. So I'm creating material, just call it sky, and make it a skybox procedural, and just drag it onto the sky here. Now we have control over sort of the colour of the sky, the exposure of the sky, which sounds really boring, but it's pretty handy. If you don't know, Unity has this dynamic sun, which is actually really cool. So we'll sort of keep that like that for the moment, but we'll probably come back to it. So anyway, our suitcase. I'm going to create a new folder. Suitcase. Obviously, if you have an existing directory, then you'll just sort of slot this in where you want. But I'm going to now go to where we saved our suitcase. That's not the one. Tutorial texture, and it's these. So we're going to get all these and drag them into Unity. So we put all those. So this is all our suitcase. So we're going to do some setup for it. So you'll have to scale it. I presume yours is already scaled. Then you generate your colliders, generate your light maps. Go in here, apply that, and now we've got to sort of edit the input material. So we click on this sort of expanded thing, and we go out here. And on the right, we've selected the actual model now in the prefab. You'll have this here, suitcase model material. Click it, and all your stuff comes up. So now we need to do some setting up of our texture. So it's a normal map. We don't want to create from grayscale because that messes it up. Only needs to be 1024. So that's our normal map done. So you might need to just change all these to 1024. It's probably not going to do anything, but makes me feel better. Just make sure you have imported the right maps, obviously. So now we're just going to more or less click and drag, set that to white. Our albedo into here. So you can see it's sort of building itself up in here. Our AO into our collusion there. Our metallic into the metallic there. And our normal into the normal. As you would expect. So there is our suitcase, actually. So now if we drag this out, it's giant. So we can change that here. So it's 0.2 maybe. There you go. So there's our suitcase in Unity. So I'm sort of going to put it on a plane so it's got something to reflect. Make it a bit bigger. This is W, R, and E, and all that changing between the move and scale tools, just like in Maya. Make that on there. Make these both static, so they're included in the light map baking. So you'll see it's doing it down here. It's baking light maps now. You'll probably see it update in a minute. I'm not sure how noticeable it will be. Yeah, there you go. So you can see it's all. It's been factored into the lighting equation now. So we can mess around with this as much as we want. Like we can sort of change the direction the sun's coming from. Let's see if we can change all this. What else can we do? This. Maybe we should put a reflection probe in. This is more or less going to sort of give reflections to any reflective surface, it's going to give it a cube map to use, which in this case is going to be the suitcase. So anything inside this yellow square, which you can change the size of from these little things here. So yeah, you'll sort of see what it's doing there. And if we had some reflective metal surfaces on here, you'd really see it kind of updating. So yeah, we can maybe move these about. Put that 90. Put that over here. So yeah, we've got our mud on here. That looks quite good. Maybe for that a bit more. Like that maybe, yeah. So yeah, we have quite a nice game asset which we can use. See, it's very low poly, but this plane is higher poly than the suitcase I'm willing to bet. And obviously the texture is really nice. So we could probably talk about how we might make this look a little better, like as sort of a bonusy thing. So this is what it looks like in game. So I'll put that over here real quick so that we sort of move the camera, get a better view of it. It's down here. Okay, and we can add some like camera effects. So I've imported the effect package from. It will be on here, effects. It's a standard package, and you can add a few camera effects maybe if you're looking to sort of add some stuff. So maybe so we had ambient occlusion, so we might add that. Not occurrence. So what's that? Oh, that's occlusion. So you see what this is doing? It's just sort of screen space, ambient occlusion. Sort of just edit it so that it comes out how we want. Maybe a bit smoother, and then maybe just add some bloom. Oh, that's way too much. Crest. Just add a little bit so that the bright areas sort of look a little nicer. And I suppose we could add some camera effects and like depth of field if we wanted to as well. Which that's not the one. Give me a minute here. I think I've added the wrong one. Yeah, so just maybe I think it's that one that's yeah. So we sort of mess around with this. Sort of mess around with the blur there. Yes, there we go. So that looks quite good. So this is more or less our game asset, which we've textured in under an hour. And it looks quite good. It looks like we spent some time on it. So you might need to shrink this texture down to 512, it's 1K at the moment, but you probably won't notice much of a difference as it goes. So that's more or less it for this tutorial. So I hope you have enjoyed it. And real quick, we'll just, if you're wondering about, okay, 1 minute. So this is my website. This is where I put all my tutorials now. There's also some of my 3D work in here if you're interested in some of the projects I've been working on. And you can email me up here. So go there if you're looking for new tutorials. And that's pretty much it.